I want to go now, as promised, to Ryan Crosswell. He is a former federal prosecutor who resigned after the DOJ decided to drop corruption charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. Ryan is now running as a Democrat for a U.S. House seat in the state of Pennsylvania. So, Ryan, I appreciate your time, in the context of the fact that you resigned after the DOJ decided to drop those charges. As you watched Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, today, and you have had a chance to see her, I played some of the clips there, but you were able to watch it in full. You worked in the DOJ under her leadership. What was your reaction to what you saw today?
Thanks for having me, Erin. It is so hard to watch. And I would ask the American people, does that look like an attorney general, or does it look like a spokesperson for the president? Those were fair questions she was being asked by those senators about Tom Homan, about Jeff Epstein, about the National Guard being deployed into our cities, and she stonewalled them. And I guess we shouldn't expect anything better from a Department of Justice that's instructed attorneys to stonewall judges. But I just think it's so sad because the mission of the Department of Justice is so important, and that's their leader.
So on the issue of Comey, right, as we pointed out, days before the actual charges came down, Trump is posting Pam : time for action, right? That we know happened. And I played some of her exchanges with Senator Klobuchar and Senator Blumenthal. Let me play a little bit more with Senator Blumenthal. Here it is.
The night before James Comey's indictment, you had dinner with the President of the United States. Pretty intimate group.
Actually, there were a lot of people there that night. That's a great picture.
Was James Comey discussed at that dinner?
I love that picture. That's a great picture.
I mean, she's making a mockery of it.
Completely. And just to go back to what happened there, President Trump essentially posted an enemies list in that tweet. Then he appointed his personal attorney to indict the case because nobody else in that office would do so, which she did, and then they promised more prosecutions. And I believe that Mr. Comey will ultimately be vindicated. I think there's going to be strong grand jury misconduct motions, vindictive prosecution motions, and selective prosecution motions. But it's going to come after the American taxpayers have wasted a bunch of money on this prosecution.
So what do you think about, as Evan was laying out, Lindsay Callaghan adding these two new lawyers from North Carolina, two prosecutors, not from the actual office where this is coming from?
It's so telling. The Eastern District of Virginia is one of the most prestigious U.S. attorney's offices in the country. And that to me says they can't find a single federal prosecutor in that office that's willing to do the case and says she needs help. I think it's very telling.
When you talk to your former colleagues, are people feeling, do you think more people are going to leave, or are people saying that they feel they need to stay?
I think morale is way down. I've heard a statistic today that maybe 5,000 people left the Department of Justice since inauguration. And I think what American people need to understand is how dangerous that is. The Department of Justice protects us from terrorists, from drug dealers, from violent criminals, from child predators, and competent federal prosecutors are being driven out and being replaced by hacks that are more concerned with protecting the president of the American people. And that's why I'm running for Congress in PA 7.
All right, so Tom Homan.
Sure.
Tom Homan has not been indicted, right? There were reports that there's this video of the bag of cash changing hands, and it was an undercover businessman. Right. This is all from the New York Times reporting. Bondi deflected the question, said go to Kash Patel, the FBI director, who, by the way, does report into to her. But what do you think is going on here? I mean, it obviously is defies credulity to imagine that she would not know about the existence of a videotape in this case, given all the coverage that's come with it.
I think it's a continuation of what I witnessed firsthand at the Justice Department with the Eric Adams case. It is the Trump administration protecting his friends and pursuing its opponents. It's the same thing. I've prosecuted bribery cases where a bag of cash was handed over. It's as solid a case as you can possibly have. And the most galling part about it is the Pam Bondi has the audacity to say that nobody's above the law. But we know that's not true. Eric Adams is above the law, Tom Homan's above the law, and apparently anyone contained in the Epstein files is above the law.
All right, Ryan, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Ryan Crosswell, as we said, resigned over the lack of an Adams, what happened with Adams. And now I want to bring in Ty Cobb, former Trump White House lawyer. And Ty is here with me, which is wonderful. And obviously the circumstances are not, which is that we're in this unprecedented moment that we are in. Can I just start with Lindsay Callaghan and hiring those two prosecutors from North Carolina who are not part of the Eastern District of Virginia, which, as Ryan just pointed out, is one of the prestigious districts in the U.S. system. What does that say to you?
I agree with Ryan. It says that they couldn't find anybody within 500 miles to show up in court and choke down the humiliation of trying to defend the United States in that case.
So what happens here then? Comey's arraignment tomorrow. What do you expect? As I said, the reporting has been wide, right? That they wanted the big spectacle, that there was a discussion about whether an arrest, but then maybe now, no, they're just going to let him quietly turn himself in. What happens?
So the reporting is now that, things should go, civilly and with the ordinary propriety that these events are afforded. But I don't put anything past them. I think we saw today from the Attorney General how low the representatives of the Department of Justice are willing to go. I hope that it goes normally, and I suspect certainly once it gets to the judge, it will. And the judge is a very serious man, very experienced, not remotely political or a showman, and he'll try to ensure the sanctity of those proceedings.
What did you make of Pam Bondi today, right? I mean, the point of her presentation clearly was to show, disgust and disregard, right? That is what she wanted to convey. That is what she conveyed. Have you seen something like that before?
Never. I think today she achieved one thing. She knocked John Mitchell off the perch of reprehensible attorney generals as number one, despite his guilty plea and time in jail.
So today, the issue of the cash, I want to ask you about that, right? You just heard what Ryan said about it. So the FBI, the Trump appointees at the DOJ, so let's just be clear, Trump appointees at the DOJ looked at this and said, there's nothing to see, don't worry about it, we're done with the Homan thing. I just wanted to play another exchange. This was with Adam Schiff and the Attorney General. Here it is.
Did he take the money?
Senator Schiff, that happened prior to my confirmation as Attorney General. I said that.
Do you know sitting here whether he took the money?
All I know is that Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and FBI Director Patel said there was no case. And Caroline Leavitt is one of the most trustworthy human beings I know.
Have you ever seen a case where $50,000 in cash exchanges hands in a bag where there's no case?
Absolutely not. That's as believable as Caroline Leavitt being credible. The fact that she said she didn't know, and that can't possibly be true. I mean, she's either seen the tape or people have described that to her. There's no question about that. Tom Homan, for all we know, and for all America knows today, bought his Egg McMuffin with cash from the bag. There's no doubt that he had the money, based on the reporting, which was that he received the bag on videotape, wearing, with people in the room wearing audio wires that recorded it. So, this is silly, and it's reminiscent of the game she played where she tried to mislead the MAGA faithful with regard to Epstein by saying, well, we'll try to get the grand jury minutes, knowing that there was nothing in the grand jury minutes that would shed any light on it. This is just all a deception game. This is basically designed to affect the credibility of various institutions, the Justice Department, the Congress today. The lack of respect that's being shown for the institutions that have driven America to the leadership of the world is shocking, but it is right out of the authoritarian handbook.
Ty, thank you very much.